Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, Bijan Robinson has chosen his number, and I have some thoughts.
No good, bad, and ugly. Today, just good, better, and best because, hey, that's all we got for the Braves.
And last but not least, and for the culture, did Vinny Dorsey speak for the people? We'll talk about all that next right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn more to find more information today. Now, I'm happy to be back in the saddle today because, your boy was down bad today. And then I actually got a chance to leave out the house for the first time, probably about 72 hours. For those of you who don't know, I missed Monday and, I was out sick. The whole household got hit with a virus and couldn't keep solids down, but I ain't gonna go a little bit too much deep into that. But yeah, happy to be back in the saddle today because, when you think about Bijan Robinson, all the hoopla and everything has been coming with them taking a running back in the top 10, since 2018. Saquon Barkley. That's the last time it had happened. Now he has picked his number. He picked number 7. And for those Falcons fans who want to start this conversation, who I'm so tired of having, don't start the whole Matt Ryan, Michael Vick thing. Like, leave that to a side. What I think the significance in this particular situation, I believe, is that the fact that Michael Vick brought something to the Georgia Dome every Sunday. And I really feel like the expectation is going to be the same for Bijan Robinson, especially since he chose the man number.
So you're not saying that the pressure is coming because that was Tony Graziani, Barry Klein, Younghoe Koo, Hugh Millen's numbers? No? Oh, okay. Because it was Michael Vick.
No disrespect to Younghoe Koo, but yeah, this different. This a little different.
It's different. It definitely does. Yeah, it's interesting because it probably puts pressure in terms of butts and seats, but that's it. It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. If Bijan was under center, this would be a compelling conversation where we would really be like, hey, you have got to show improve. But ultimately speaking, we're talking about a running back, right? And we're talking about a quarterback. And there's a slight difference, number one, in the pecking order, right?
Right.
It's QB and then it's the rest of y'all. Let's just be honest with that. So when Michael Vick gets that number and when the rest of the world wears that number, it hits different. I'm just saying. That's number one. And number two, I think that when you look at what Michael Vick did to revolutionize the position of quarterback, we all kind of knew he was probably going to do that.
Right.
I don't think anybody's expecting Bijan Robinson to revolutionize the position of running back. What he's able to do or capable of doing, it's already been done. Now, he might do it at a level that maybe we haven't seen quite, but to me, it's just a bit of an apples and oranges comparison.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like you said, we've seen dynamic running backs before. It's just the fact that people just don't draft them in the top 10 anymore.
Yes.
So we talk about 5 years. Like back in the day, back in those Dallas Cowboy days and the San Francisco 49ers of the 90s and all that stuff.
Lions
like running,
days,
Detroit Lions running backs. You get drafted top number 1 overall. You know what I mean? So those are some of the things that like we just aren't used to seeing. But like once he hits the fields, and we're like, oh, okay, we've seen this movie before. We've seen guys got to be dynamic and be able to be used in different slots, and I think that Arthur Smith is going to do a good job of that. But I just think that it's interesting how here we are when Michael Vick was drafted, in the early 2000s, you know what I mean? And now we're still talking about his number, 20 some odd years later. So it just, and being somebody who grew up in Atlanta and understood the dynamics when you walked into the Georgia Dome on Sundays at 1:00, Like, the man used to put on a show. He was must-see TV. So, and I feel like Bijan Robinson should be that too, given how, the draft capital that you use to, take a guy like that. So everybody seems to be on board. Like, this dude is a can't miss prospect. So I think we'll be well fit to see what's going on Sundays as 1 o'clock rolls around. Now, speaking of Sundays and NFL football, now, the college football has done it. They have answered the prayers of people, big-time college football fans, and they're going to be moving to a 12-team playoff.
Eventually, probably.
We'll probably get there at some point. I think I've turned it to a profit for a hot second, but I think they're going to be moving to a 12-team playoff and due to start in 2024. And the thing that really stood out to me, T, is the fact that the college football, they scheduled it where they wouldn't interfere with the wild card rounds on Saturday and Sunday, and they're going to start the semifinals on Thursday and Friday. So you're going to have at least 5 games on those Thursday and Friday being played in the college football semifinal. Then on Saturday and Sunday, you're going to have the NFL playoffs, and Monday is going to have 1 game on Monday. So you're going to have 5 straight days of straight up knockdown, drag out, important football, T.
Which is great, except that you have to be so very careful because there will be situations like when you go into 2024 and there are going to be games played on campuses on Saturday, December 21st, for example. And when you start thinking about the 21st of December, a Saturday, that's still, if there's an NFL game on that weekend, that is still prime real estate for the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see when you have those, the NFL ball and college football bumping heads, who's going to prevail? Who is going to prevail? Now, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think some of it will depend on who's playing on a Saturday in the league, to be honest with you,
right?
And who is playing a significant game, and it is a significant team, if you will, or a significant program, right? So if you have Alabama playing on a Saturday, December 21st, and no offense to the Detroit Lions, but if you have a team like that playing against
no shade
on that Saturday, guess who wins? Yeah, the pseudo NFL team called the Alabama Crimson Tide, they would win that race. So for me, I think it's good. It's going to be intriguing, and like you said, the excitement will be around the fact that we get more quality football multiple days. Because I'm willing to bet that a Thursday college football game that has playoff implications is probably going to be better than the product we've been seeing on Thursdays from the NFL since those Thursday games were instituted.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that because the NFL has been struggling trying to, make those games divisional games. So, hey, they can mean something at some point, but it just haven't worked out. And I think that, as we go along, Amazon picked up, the broadcast, which have been they've been okay. They've been fine.
Better.
But I think that, you have college football is a whole different beast in my eyes. When you see hundreds of thousands of people sitting up in the stands on a Saturday, I think that fan base is a little bit deeper when it comes to watching games during the week because kind of used to it, right? We used to college football on Thursday. Some conferences are now playing on Friday as well. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be something to keep an eye on because I think in 2026 they're going to make sure that those the schedule doesn't kind of interfere at all. But we'll see how they're going to work it out because at the end of the day, when you talk about having home games in the first round of the playoff on site, cool. That is.
I think that's pretty cool.
Money.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good for the fans as well. So
and I like that because I feel like that's incentive. Not that there are any college games where you can take off, because literally you might be a one-loss team and find yourself, or could have been a one-loss team and find yourself out of the college football playoff period, right? So there's no game to really take off in college football. Even your cupcakes, you got to be careful. Yes. But I feel like if that to me is more incentive. Wow, we might actually get a game at home in this postseason, this new version of a postseason for college football. I also think that's a great incentive, and it gives another opportunity to have some quality college football leading up to that championship game.
Absolutely, and I think that right now where we are in just viewing college football and companies like ESPN trying to figure out if they want to go fully digital or streaming and breaking off from these cable companies. I think this is going to be so fascinating to watch to see how they negotiate these things, and especially from a broadcasting rights standpoint. And I think it's going to be something to keep an eye on. Another thing that you got to keep an eye on that we're going to talk about next is the fact that the Braves are doing their doggone thing on the road, and they continued that last night. Bryce Elder out here balling on y'all folks. We'll talk about that next. But first, we got to talk about our folks over at Built Bar, because guess what, guys? I just came back from the gym. I'm out here getting my workout on. I'm getting my sweat on. I was hungry as soon as I got out that door. You know what I put in my mouth? A doggone Built Bar. That's exactly what I did, because it is the best protein bar you can get. They got all 100% real chocolate in that joint. And guess what? 17 grams of protein, and they got all the new flavors and the ones that you love, and they got some new ones as well. How about this? The churro, which is absolutely amazing. Have you gone to a Mexican restaurant and tried it out? I think you need to do that. It tastes exactly the same, but it's also combined with that good old chunk puff and the 100% real chocolate. So here's what I want you to do. You can either go to built.com like we've been telling you to do. You go there. If you're cool with that, that's fine. But if you want to go into the store and check out what's going on, make sure you go to Sam's and or on Walmart. If you want to, you go to Walmart, get the small box, or you can go to Sam's and get the big boy box. For me, I'm a big boy, so I want to go get the big boy box. So make sure you head to built.com or Sam's or Walmart to go load up.
Speaking of load up, the Braves, they kind of like to load it up on the Marlins. They started this series in Miami the same way that they started the last series against the Marlins, not just with a win, Jarvis, but a shutout. When we remember that just over a week ago, about a week and a half ago, started out 11-0, right? So it's like on repeat, not maybe as much as a massive beatdown, but still on repeat, because you still got some of the same things. You got power hitting, but you got not just the home run, the long ball, but you were able to get on base with runs. You got solid pitching and you got stellar defense once again. So 6-0 was the final in game one of this series. And Jarvis, like we said, sometimes we come to the table and it's the good, the bad, the ugly. But today for the Braves, it's all about the good, the better, the best. So many positives there. Number one, you're coming off that loss to end the Mets series, but you won the series, but then you've got to travel down to Miami, and you're wondering, first of all, and we don't want to get into this too much, but I'm just saying this to make you smile. First thing I'm wondering is, okay, are we going to get a hit by pitch on Ronald Acuna Jr.? Because that can be an issue with Miami, but we didn't see that. It was a clean game from that perspective last night, which allowed us to just watch it and just enjoy the good of it. The good being, let's start there. Ozzie Albies. He scored his 8th run of the season in the win. And Ozzie's just been doing it because scoring 8 runs, that puts him in, I believe, he's 26th in the league, something crazy, right? For what he's been able to do. So not just that, but in RBI as well. I think he's maybe in the mid-20s there too. And so again, I'm looking at Ozzie and I'm saying, wow, Jarvis, we talk about all of the heavy hitters, and don't worry, guys, we're bringing you the heavy hitters in a minute as well. But I wanted to start out with Ozzie because I think he's one of the goods that we don't talk about enough. And check that, Jarvis, tied for 6th in the league for home runs.
Yeah,
he's
right up there with
the most silent assassin that the Braves have in the lineup.
And he's right up there with Matt Olson. Matt Olson is right there in the same pocket as well. So that's one of the things that, John Chucker is talking about on his show on Hitting Hard. You can check that out. Make sure you guys check that out. He always has an opinion about everything. But to me, I feel like he made a really good point when he talked about how important Ozzie Albies is. Like, if Ozzie's bat is going like it's been going this year, this is a very scary lineup, man. And not even talk about, all of the good things, but Austin Riley has been struggling. He's been kind of struggling, after getting off to that top 3 in the batting order, getting off to such a hard start. He's kind of falling off as of late. So when you have a guy like Ozzie coming in and doing his thing, I think this is a lineup lineup that is murderer's row, as you want to speak, and then you got Michael Harris coming back. So when you got a guy like Ozzie, because Ronald nephew is doing his thing, he's back, he's 100%. But when the homie, when Lil Cuz is out there doing his thing, Ozzie Albies, Lil Cuz, I just gave him a nickname. That's his name. When nephew and Lil Cuz out there doing that thing to you, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. When he turned that. What probably would have been a single for normal folks, he turned it into a double and ran it out. Of course, he lost the trademark helmet flying off his head. Like, those are some of the things that just makes the Braves just such a beautiful thing to watch. And I think that when you have a guy like Ozzie getting it rolling and he's seeing his homie out there doing his thing as well, this is something that teams need to be on the lookout for, because this is a scary team right now,
Right.
Because
and that's why I called
Bryce
him
Elder doing his thing too.
Right. And that's why I called Ozzie Albies the silent assassin, because we've had that conversation about Matt Olson and how he had the hot start. We've had that conversation about Austin Riley, but I feel like preseason, right between, that space between spring training and the opening of the regular season, I called Ozzie Albies as my guy. I said, if he gets going, that's going to be my guy who's like your sneaky MVP, meaning obviously Ronald Acuna Jr. is the best player on your team, but I don't think you're going to do what you want to do, which is get back to the World Series and possibly win it, until Ozzie Albies shows up as old Ozzie, and we're starting to see that, and it's just exciting. So that's our good. Our better, you just called him, Bryce Elder, a.k.a. Mr. Consistency. He's gone at least 6 innings in 7 of his last starts. Of course, last night it was a 7-inning, 3-hit outing, and he bounced back from a not so good outing just 5 days ago. And that's the kind of thing you want to see, because that's what consistency is all about. It's not always every outing you have a great outing. Sometimes consistency is you have a little bump in the road and you bring it back, right? So I thought about this. I said, man, oh man, here we go with this amazing pitching rotation. You've got Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Charlie Morton, Kyle Wright, and then Bryce Elder. But other than the hiccup in the last start, it's like, yes, we know Bryce Elder is 5th in the pitching rotation. But remember, we were also talking at the beginning of the year about Dylan Dodd and Jared Schuster. We're not really talking about Bryce Elder that much. But now you're feeling like he's the 3rd best, maybe in the group so far this season?
Oh, easily, hands down. And because you talk about a consistent standpoint, you have Max Fried, who had his, injury issues and, not injury issues, but, So you have his injury issues, and you have, Charlie Morton, who has been, working through things and doing his thing as well, and showing up, at 39 years old, going to the mound. So I think that when you have a guy like Bryce Elder, like you said, at least 6 innings at 7 out of the last 11, and that consistency, you're bringing that consistency, even if you aren't like on it, no on runs, no walks, and all that stuff, but you still kind of giving you enough to where your lineup can pick you up. And we've seen that even with Spencer Strider as well. We've seen the lineup pick up the starting rotation if need be. So when you have a guy like Bryce Elder doing his thing, he's the type of guy that, he doesn't get all the fanfare, all of the, the hype and everything coming into the season, or even same thing last year. When he came in, he just came in and produced. And that's what we've been seeing as of late. And I'm super excited when we're talking about a guy like Bryce Elder, when you've had guys who were 21-game winners last year and guys, Cy Young candidates and everything like that. And if we're not talking about them, like I think the Braves right now are in a really good spot.
Yeah, and he is, like you said, just someone who he stays under the radar, but he is consistent with his, and he is so powerful with it. Like, he was going back and forth between sinkers and sliders. And it's funny because there were a couple times as I was looking back at it, even this morning, and I was like, okay, by the time the batter figured out that it was a sinker, it was already a strike. I mean, it was already done. So he's that fast. And I love what he said as well. At those few moments, those rare moments last night when he was, quote unquote, out of control with his pitch, it was one of those things where even if it wasn't his best pitch, he liked what he saw in himself. And that's because he still had the ability to come right back and have command on that very next pitch. So when you hear that consistency from the pitcher himself, Bryce Elder, you hear Brian Snitker giving that same comment, or you hear that from Michael Harris II, that's a beautiful thing. And of course, we always love when we see an ERA that's 1.75 and 32 strikeouts. That is also a good look because, Jarvis, what you needed last night after the the bullpen has been just worn down and worn out, you needed him to go 7 innings. So it was just a beautiful thing. But let's be honest. Good, better, best, Ronald Acuna Jr. How do we know? Because he won the NL Player of the Month award for the month of April. This guy is on fire. I mean, in every category, he's either leading the majors or he's leading the National League. So we're talking about hits. We're talking about stolen bases. We're talking about on base and slugging percentage. Everything, he's at either the top of his game across the majors completely, or he is at the top of his game across the National League. And he showed just about all of those weapons last night, Jarvis, just a day after Tyler McGill hit him by pitch. And his shoulder, the way he went down, made us all gasp like, oh, not again. Guy comes back, gets a double, drives in a run, steals a base, and it was like an acrobatic steal of a base. 14 bases, leading the NL. Is there anything that this guy can do? Because I feel like at this point, we all think about the fact that, he owns the Marlins. That's clear. That's why I said it was shocking that he didn't get hit by a pitch again. But Jarvis, the way I see it, it's like, is he looking to own everybody this season?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He coming for everybody's neck. You better protect it. Like Wu-Tang, a famous proverb you said about Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, they are, they are those type of guys. But, yeah, I think with nephew, I'm not surprised by this. I know people, we've talked about his greatness and how he is and his capabilities, and to be able to see what we are experiencing right now. I'm not shocked. This man is amazing. He is an amazing player, and he was a couple of feet away from a grand slam last night. And I'm just like, man, this dude is about to take this man deep to Apple Taco, as my main man Brian Jordan used to say on the broadcast. I need to bring my boy back, man. Y'all stop playing around. But yeah, I think this is something that that was expected. Because we knew the man said he was 100%. So I am not shocked at all that nephew is actually out there doing his thing, and I'm going to continue to see it because he is exactly what we thought he was.
Yeah. Everydayers, if you want to weigh in on who you feel is good, better, and best for the Braves, let us know. You can drop it in the comment section when you check us out on YouTube, or you can follow us at our Twitter handles right here for you. If you want to DM us and let us know your thoughts about ATL Day Ones overall or about the topic today, absolutely drop us a comment because we appreciate you being with us from day one. And we appreciate the fact that you are literally bringing your friends along for the ride. So don't forget, tell them about YouTube because they can check us out and see who exactly is Jarvis, who exactly is Tenitra. Here they are. And of course, if you guys are riding in your car and we want you to be safe. We don't want anything to happen to you on the roads here at ATL. Then you can download us wherever you get your podcasts and listen in on ATL Day Ones wherever you are in the streets.
But this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down in the show. Today is no different. We got a couple topics for y'all, and I gotta run this by T to kind of see what her thoughts are. Now, the NFL draft just passed. There was a young man, he's fairly young, by the name of Vinny Dorsey. Had the Falcons outfit on. He announced the 7th round pick. The safety out of Alabama, Helms, and there was somebody who tried to go old school with the whole 28-3 joke. Those aren't going away, Falcons fans. Maybe until the Falcons bring us a Super Bowl to this city. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think it was kind of cool though for him to acknowledge it within the pick and say, oh, yeah, 28-3, we've heard that before. And the funny thing, Vinny was like, he thought he was going to get in trouble for it, but absolutely, he got a lot of response once the NFL gave him his phone back, because, it's like secret society up in that bad boy. He got his phone back, and he saw all of the texts and everything. People were just, were so cool. And Rich Eisen and all his folks, they had lost it for about 30 seconds to a minute on air laughing. So I think it was just overall just a cool moment. But do you think he was speaking for the people, T?
Oh, definitely, at least for the Falcons fans, because if you're not a Falcons fan, 28-3 will always live with you in perpetuity. You'll get a Super Bowl and still petty folks around the league for the other 31
Saints
teams,
fans.
yeah, but you could have had 2 by now, but 28-3. So it's never going to go away. So you have to have an attitude like Vinny, be prepared for it and have a response, because he literally went the dozens in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was absolute gold.
Yes, I absolutely love it. You gotta love, guys be on their toes like that. Like, because as a person who, take the Joneses or the Jonan, wherever you're from and however you refer to it, I just absolutely love that. Now T, got to get to this before we get up out of here. Now, Iyanla Vanzant.
Okay, go ahead.
She was talking to a young lady, who's a prominent lawyer. Her name escapes me. Please forgive me for that. But
Ebony K. Williams.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. She was asked, would you date a bus driver? And she seemed like she kind of fumbled around with her response initially, but she repeated the question. The question was, would you date a bus driver? And
I do have allergies. I do.
And she said
it's just a bad time for the allergies to kick up. But.
Right. Funny how that works. And she said her response was got a lot of people up in arms. She said no. And she will only date a bus driver, T, if he owned the bus. Thoughts?
Well, so I'm going to try to say this in a way that you people don't come for me, but even if you people don't care, because guess who has a microphone? Tenitra and Jarvis. Period. Here's my thought on that, because it would be easy for people to go in and be like, oh, she's being bougie because she's only going to date the owner or the bus driver. Well, as little girls, your dads teach you that everything in life should be an upgrade, right? Yep. Anything that you do in life should be an upgrade in some way, shape, or form. Now, a lot of times dads are telling you to upgrade financially, like seriously, because they want you at a minimum to be able to live the life that they gave you if, it was a good life.
Right.
Yes. A lot of what informs women is that setup from their dads or their uncles to say, hey, you're the princess, you're the prize, and whomever you go after should be someone who upgrades you. So theoretically, the bus driver can't upgrade you if you're the person with the degree who has, and not even a degree. Let me back that
Advanced
up, because I know how people feel. But if there's a bus driver, what's his game plan? What's his game plan to evolve? That's what the commentary was on the bus being an owner, right? So no different from, hey, if you're the manager of a store, like, do you intend to become the director, the regional sales person? Do you intend to franchise this bad boy? Like, where are you going with this? Or are you going to just be the manager forever? And if so, what are the other things driving it? So I would give my uncle as a case in point, right? So his wife, they both are college grads, but his wife ended up being like an IT manager, right? So of course they make more than, say, the supervisor or the manager. I think ended up being a manager at a physical plant. Now, again, both college educated, so they're both making a decent amount of money, but IT is one thing, physical plant is another. But my uncle was ridiculous at knowing how to invest, knowing how to pay his house off in half the time, knowing how to pay everything in cash. I mean, anything you ask my uncle to do, it's not even a question. Sometimes you just get a check in the mail just because I love you, Tenitra. So that's where the question becomes, because he was always elevating. He takes care of that same wife, right? Because he went into retirement 15 years before she did.
Yeah. So context is king, T. Context is king. That's how I look at it.
There it is, Jarvis. Such a great point as a man coming from you to understand that it's about the context. And again, I don't ask for anything that I don't bring to the table. And that could be in any area, financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. So yeah, if you're the bus driver and I'm out here trying to get, go from my regional job in sports to my national job in sports, I am going to ask you what your game plan is to level up. And if you don't have one, we could be friends.
And I like the point that you just made. Like, you at least willing to have the conversation, right? Because seemingly from her response, it's like she ain't gonna even get to do the time of day. And I think a lot of times people, want to say, oh, she's leveling down or lowering her standards and all that stuff. And like, my whole thing is like, have an open mind when it comes to if a relationship is really what you want, right? Like, because you never know how things are going to go. You never know. You might spark something in that man. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. Don't get me wrong. ladies, I know y'all watch our show too. But there is some value to what you bring to the table. Like if you're bringing a certain level of thinking or because, men, we have the big vision, we have the big picture. Women handle the details. That's just how things are working. Like that's how they work. That's how they work for me, at least. Let me say that. So I think that, I just thought it was very interesting that like she responded that way, and to see some of the backlash that she's received. I don't necessarily think her response should warrant that, but I think that she should have an open mind as to how she interact with certain people, and don't necessarily judge just because he's a bus driver and he doesn't own it, so I ain't gonna even give him the time of day. So yeah.
And I think we as humans, we also have to give grace. Because I knew exactly what she was trying to communicate. She just didn't do it effectively. But that's that meaning Ebony K. Williams in her question and her response to her own question. But also even a Jan Van Zant, I felt like she was pushing the narrative of, no, you should, that's why we have the issues that we do, because you don't want to drive you don't want to date the bus driver. But then even she had to go later in that conversation and give some context to what she was trying to say. So sometimes we have to give grace, and you gave the perfect word, contextual. Contextual is what we need to be concerned about. Real quick, Jarvis, because I know you have an outro for us. Just want to lift up some thoughts and prayers. I just left my other gig in Midtown, and none too soon, because there is a suspect at large. There's an active shooter in Midtown. So prayers up that our Atlanta Police Department will be able to apprehend that suspect. But in the meantime, let's just cover our people in Midtown, because I know that's the second time in as many months that we've had an active shooter situation in Midtown.
Amen. First of all, and thank you guys for rocking with us, and we appreciate you guys. We appreciate T for bringing it up, and because we all know that when these situations come about, the people that have to go out and go get those bad people, and we hope that they continue to do that and are able to continue after the fact. Once they apprehend the person that needs to go on about their business, not just leave it at that. All right, for people, if you don't do anything else, I want to make sure, especially on a day like this, that you share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.